Keanu Reeves was an enigma, a Hollywood A-lister who carried himself like an ordinary man. But one unforgettable night on a lonely stretch of highway, he would prove just how different he really was. It all began at a quiet roadside gas station. Keanu, dressed in his signature rugged jeans, a worn leather jacket, and well-traveled boots, pulled in on his classic Norton Commando. He wasn't surrounded by assistants or bodyguards, just him, his bike, and the endless road ahead. A group of grizzled bikers leaned against their choppers, eyeing him with curiosity. These weren't hobbyist riders. They were part of an infamous outlaw brotherhood called the Iron Fangs. One of them, a heavily inked man called Viper, smirked. "Look who's out here alone. Didn't think movie stars rode solo." The others chuckled, expecting him to stammer or walk away. But Keanu simply nodded. "Just enjoying the freedom of the road, man." His lack of fear caught them off guard. No arrogance, no posturing, just quiet confidence. Viper narrowed his eyes. "All right, Hollywood, think you can keep up? Ride with us?" It wasn't a friendly offer. It was a test. Keanu could have declined, could have left without a word. But instead, he swung a leg over his bike and gave a small nod. "Let's go." The night air was thick with the roar of engines as they tore down the empty highway, a pack of chrome beasts cutting through the darkness. Keanu kept pace effortlessly, his movements smooth and instinctive. At first, the gang expected him to struggle, but as the miles stretched on, their skepticism turned to intrigue. He didn't try to prove himself. He didn't act like he belonged. He just rode, silent, steady, completely present. After an hour, they stopped at an old abandoned diner by the roadside. Viper finally broke the silence. "All right, man, what's your deal? Why's a Hollywood guy riding out here alone?" Keanu leaned back against his bike, looking up at the sky. "Lost a lot of people. My best friend, my sister, my love. Riding clears my mind, makes me feel close to them." The bikers, men hardened by years of struggle and regret, went quiet. They weren't used to honesty like that, especially from someone like him. After a long pause, a burly biker named Grizz muttered, "Lost my little brother last year, shot down outside a bar?" Keanu nodded, his gaze understanding. That kind of pain never really leaves, but running from it won't bring him back. Grizz swallowed hard. The others exchanged looks. They had spent years burying their grief beneath violence and rebellion. But Keanu? He wasn't running. He was facing it. Then, out of nowhere, everything changed. As they prepared to get back on their bikes, the low rumble of another engine echoed in the distance. A black SUV with no headlights sped toward them, its windows tinted pitch black. Before anyone could react, a flash of metal gleamed from the driver's side window. Bang! Grizz staggered back, gripping his side. The SUV screeched away, disappearing into the night. The bikers cursed, reaching for their weapons, ready to hunt down whoever had dared to attack one of their own. But before they could move, Keanu was already at Grizz's side. He tore off his leather jacket, pressing it firmly against the wound. "Stay with me, man," he urged. "We'll get you through this." The gang, fueled by years of vengeance and instinct, was seconds away from going after the shooter. But Keanu's voice, calm but firm, stopped them in their tracks. "No time for that," he said. "If we don't move now, he won't make it." For the first time in years, they hesitated, not out of fear, but because something in his words made sense. And they listened. Instead of chasing down their enemy, they revved their engines and roared toward the nearest hospital, Keanu holding Grizz steady as they raced against time. At the hospital, the gang stood in silence as doctors rushed Grizz into surgery. Viper turned to Keanu. "You didn't have to do that. You don't even know us?" Keanu exhaled. "Doesn't matter. Pain is universal, and we've all had enough of it." For men who had spent their lives believing in toughness over everything, those words hit harder than any punch. When Grizz pulled through, the gang didn't celebrate with revenge. They didn't drown themselves in whiskey. Instead, they stayed by his side. They talked. They listened. For the first time in years, they weren't just a gang. They were something more. And Keanu? He left the same way he arrived, without asking for anything, without making a big deal of it. But something had shifted. A few months later, Viper walked into a shelter, applying to help at-risk kids. Grizz, no longer riding for destruction, started working on bikes at a repair shop. One by one, they slowly began rewriting the script of their lives. And it all started with one night, one ride. With a man who wasn't trying to change them, but simply reminded them that they still had something worth fighting for. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite an entire future.